Hello ladies, happy Tuesday! Man, I feel like it's been forever since I've been on here live because I missed a week. And that was only just 1 week and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been forever! So tonight we are going to talk about mindset. And I'm so stoked about talking about it. It's a huge area for everyone. Let's be honest, everyone needs to work on their mindset. If your physical body isn't on par, then your mind is not right. If your mind is not right, then your physical body is not on par. Like, it's so intertwined in everything that we encounter, everything that we talk about, really, that we do. Like, our initial mindset, our initial thought process, what we are looking at is so key to what our outcome is possibly and potentially going to be. And so let's talk and dive into it a little bit. I'm going to go over 3 main points in this talk, and it's going to be kind of some global overview about it, and then we're going to dive into a little bit some different specific topics. I myself have been working on my mindset a lot in the past, basically since October, and it's a little bit before that, but October is when shit hit the fan. And whenever I had to really focus in on it. So let's dive in. 3 main points. What your focus is, what your wants are, and what your needs are. And these are a little bit differently than how I've talked about it before, but we're going to break into a little bit more into them. So focus. Basically, what are you drawing attention to? This can be anytime, either as you're thinking about your ride, or as you are driving to the trail, as you are on the trail, thinking, like getting ready to turn a corner to this next climb, or getting ready to turn a corner to a route section, getting ready to turn a corner to a downhill, and there's an obstacle. What is your focus? What's your main look at that next step? If you're thinking about doing a ride and your focus point comes into, I don't know if I can do that, or I don't know if this is right for me. Now, there's a certain point that we should listen. As we think about these things, as we focus in on these different aspects, we should probably take note because they come into our brain for a reason. Sometimes, as we think about our own physical body, we are too sensitive to it. So we think too much about it. We listen too much to our focus point of that. Instead of being like, you know what? If I go and do this trail and I walk part of it, life still goes on. Life still carries forward, I still carry forward, and everything's pretty much okay. But if we look at it into our expectations are, oh no, if I don't get that, then I'm a failure. Then I just completely and totally wallow that. I can't call myself a mountain biker anymore because of that. Now, those are unrealistic looks at your focus. It's what your focus point should be is to help you with understanding whether or not you're getting yourself into a dangerous situation. For mountain biking, most of the time, we can walk. We can hop right off our bike and walk through a section and then get right back on it and go again. Now, there's certain trails that you may try to do that you're going to be walking a lot, but you're still on the trail. And so your focus point, as you look at some of these things, you can look at it as an adventure. All right, I may not do the best at that, but you know what? It's going to be fun being out there, and you think about different points that are positives. And so then your focus shifts to a positive state instead of a negative state. If you think about your focus and all you think about is the negatives, you probably shouldn't do it. And one thing to break that down for positives and negatives is what are your wants and what are your needs. This is steps 2 and 3 of what it is. And looking at this, it's, how to put it? It's breaking down how things need to happen. So you need to stay safe. You need to make good decisions so that you're out there. You need to make sure you don't, like if you've only ridden 5 miles, probably trying to do a 30-mile trail probably isn't the best option for you. Making sure you have other backup plans. So needing to stay safe, needing to do things that are appropriate for your level, but understanding your wants of going and having an adventure. exploring things with friends. Has anybody ever had these thoughts? Has anybody broken down their focus points as they look at something? And this can go for a specific climb too. So if you're on a climb and you focus in on, oh my gosh, there's this one section with the rocks and roots that I never get past. Or you focus in on, you know what, I'm gonna try to have the best experience that I can on this trail. There was a time back in, I think it was a year ago, last August, and I had some tooth dental work done, and my ability to ride in that time was pretty diminished. I was supposed to be training because I was going out to Colorado. I was going to be riding at 11,000 feet of elevation, and I lived in North Carolina at like 2 to 3. So it was a pretty big jump for me. And I wasn't able to train at all. My tooth stuff like completely hammered me. The idea of exercise was thrown out the window, y'all. And so as I was traveling out across the country, driving the 20 plus hours to get there, I was thinking in my brain, how can I look at this differently? So I was going to make sure I had and enjoyed every part of every climb. Some piece and part of it, I was going to make sure I enjoyed. Now, there was the time on the trail that I was walking my bike up as we were on the Monarch Crest. And this was like the day the next day after we got out there. So we got out there late evening, and the next day we rode the Monarch Crest Trail, which is what I expected to happen. And as I'm walking my bike up the Monarch Crest Trail, because I'm trying to catch my breath, it's like 11,000 to 12,000 feet of elevation right there. And there's a little kid that passed me, and he stopped and asked me, he asked me if I had a mechanical issue. I was like, nope. No mechanical issue. I just can't breathe. And I could take that as total defeat of like, oh my gosh, this little kid is crushing me up this hill and I'm just done. Or I can look around me as I'm trying to get my lungs back underneath me and say, holy shit, this is a beautiful view. And as you approach these things, just know that you're not alone. There's so many of us that look at and focus points and changes, and as you focus in on those different points, then you have more enjoyment. Has anybody else done this? Has anybody else been passed by a little kid and asked if they had a mechanical issue like me? Oh man, I think that'll be seared into my brain for all of memory. Anybody else? Man, I sure hope I'm not alone with any of that. So as we look at our focus points, focus in on things that bring you more joy. Focus in on positive notes. Focus in on what your expectation is. And as we go into our wants and needs, how we change that expectation and what we need to do or want to do to change what that expectation may be. So yes, I wasn't able to make that hill climb, multiple hill climbs on the Monarch Crest Trail, but it's something that we can look at as to how we factor in what needs to change to get what we want. And so as I'm going to be looking out for the next time I go out there, obviously I'm going to train more in advance for it. And so an issue like a dental issue or other things that pop up won't have as big of a deal for it. Since October, I've been dealing with a lot of medical issues for my abdomen, ovaries, other things of that sort. And that's been a huge kind of mental defeat for somebody who's doing fitness programs and trains other ladies. And so that I can't actually do some of the things that I want to do medically wise, and I have to take a huge step back. And so as I have had that big step back, that mind shift or mindset of what I need to do right now also becomes what can I do right now? And that's where you look at times that you try different obstacles. How many times are you actually going to do it? How many times are you going to look at the same obstacle and have the same expectation? What are you doing to change that expectation? Are you looking at the same obstacle and being like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall over on my side, or I'm going to endo, or I'm going to do this or that? How are you breaking down that obstacle? How are you breaking it down to what skills you may need? Do you need to understand how to lift your front wheel? Do you need to understand how to track stand so you can track stand in the middle of it, look at your next step, and actually make the move to it? Are you looking at, there was a girl that was talking about going up and over rocks this week in the group, and it was breaking it down. Does she need that front wheel lift to actually initiate going over those rocks? Any obstacle that you are working on right now that you need other skills for, write them down in the comments. Do you need to work on these things, or do you need more fitness with it? Because there's both, and skills and fitness kind of interlay within each other, because as you gain more fitness, then you're able to do more skills a lot of times, and you're also able to withstand more crashes. Michelle says it's interesting. I have one trail that I do regular. Over the year, my intentions and goals change, which is fun, which is often unexpected. In June, it kept going away. It's keeping away from rattlesnakes. Yes, don't want to hit those rattlesnakes. In April, I made it speed, and now it's covered with a lot of leaves and ice. And yes, it being passed by a kid. Yes, I'm not the only one. Carol says it's okay to accept that you're never going to clear an obstacle, or just accept walking it. Or is it okay? I'd say yes. There's a couple trails that right now it's not in my foreseeable future. Now, if I wanted, this is where like, if you want to complete something, if you want to change your mindset on something, what are you doing to help it? Because just consistently riding it and passing it and or walking it is not always the best thing that's going to be for helping you to do it. Now, if you look at other pieces and parts in the trail that help you to accomplish that other one, then you are then working towards your goal. You are making these changes to work towards that other obstacle, because you broke it down and you see, okay, I first need to get over this root. I first need to get over this rock. And then you look at, okay, well, I can practice that same skill over here, and it's a lot safer. And I can practice that same skill over here, and I feel more comfortable with it. And so you practice those same things with the idea and mindset of overlaying it to your other obstacle. So then when you look back at that other obstacle, look at it in fresh eyes. Think, okay, well, I've done this one, this one, this one. Do I expect my outcome to be the same over here? It may have more of a risk, because there's maybe a drop off, there may be another obstacle stacked next to it, or directly afterwards. And so it may be two of those stacked together. And this is where it kind of ups the ante a bit, but you've worked on these other skills, these other fitness parts, these other componentries in other parts of the trail. And so if you want to work on an obstacle, then you have to make the decision to. But if you don't want to work on it, there's no shame in walking it. There's certain things on the trails that I'll walk and that I'm not currently working towards. Then do I have shame in walking them? No. It's out of my league right now. It's out of my wants. I also don't need to do it, because I'm not out there to prove anything to anybody else. I go and ride trails for fun. I'm not competing. Specialized sponsors me, but not for being a pro mountain biker. You know? Like, it's a different sort of thing. And so, Carol, most definitely, like, it's okay to not work towards everything you see in the trail. But you have to accept and place the mindset back and not put shame on yourself for walking it, or for not wanting to do it. Perfectly okay. I don't want to do certain things. I'm probably not. I don't have the skill right now, and I'm not currently working towards it. There's other things that I have that are goals. No, for sure. So looking at that, how you break down longer climbs is picking different parts that you need to stop, having a goal stopping point, and breaking down the full climb. And so as I look at climbs and goal climbs that I have, because I have goal climbs of cleaning different sections without dabbing, without putting foot down, and feeling good. So I may clean a certain section, but at the top I'm like gassed. And I want to feel good when I get to the top. I want to feel charged and ready. And so those are different ways that you can look at different sections on the trail and have different mindsets. Like, I'm going to try to get to here and here and here before, and stop those places, gather myself, and then ride from those point to point. And so you technically are cleaning the trail with rest breaks in it. There's also that you try to get as far as you can, you rest, and you try to get as far as you can, you rest. And having the mindset of, don't ever say that hill is going to crush me. If you say it, you automatically spoke negative. Say, I'm going to do my best on that climb. I'm going to try to make it to here. Because then you're looking positively at it. You are thinking about how you can have a good outcome, and you're trying to meet and have your goals. And so looking at those climbs positively versus negatively. I think that Michelle says downhill is my obstacle. She's timid and it drives her nuts. So Michelle, same thing as trying to go up and over different obstacles, looking at downhill as to what's holding you back. Sometimes it can be only because you have a fear of falling. And it's a legit fear. I don't really like to fall. I don't like to crash. Crashing usually means that I'm probably going to get hurt, and I don't like to get hurt. I don't like to stop riding my bike. So crashing is not on my to-do list. It's not if you're not crashing and you're not trying. That's bullshit. Just frankly speaking, yes, crashes happen. It definitely does. But there's certain things you can do to mitigate that. And one of them is practicing your body control. Practicing and trusting your bike. Just as you said, think I don't trust my bike enough. That makes sense. One of the things that helps you trust your bike is going over smaller obstacles. Seeing how it actually affects your bike and how it affects you. A lot of times for people that don't trust their body, don't trust their bike as much, it's that your balance on the bike is actually lacking. And so one of the easiest things that you can break down a skill with is a track stand. Can you be still out of the saddle on your bike? Can you? Do you have balance for that? Because if you don't have balance for that, then how do you trust it whenever you're actually riding forward and going over different obstacles to move on the bike, separate body from bike? It's one of the easiest things to practice in a yard, a parking lot. Hell, I've practiced it in church parking lots. Go to a church parking lot whenever it's not on Sunday or not in church time. You know? Those are great times. Try to ride a parking lot line. How's your control? Do you know can you steer where you want to steer? I know it sounds little, but skimmies are a really big thing because you don't trust your steering. And so practicing those componentries, and this is where I say break down your skills. Now, track stand involves, one, you practicing it, and then two, it involves a lot of core, glute, and arm strength. It involves you understanding how to move actually your body properly. And so understanding and applying those components off the bike as well will help you for on the bike. I don't know how many people that are going through the core crushers have talked about understanding how their core works actually is changing their riding in a week and a half. And it's because they're understanding their body better, how to control it, how to be part of it. So breaking down those skills, for sure. Michelle Jones says, thanks for the reminder, it's okay to not be Crankworks material. Totally not. I'm not, for any reason. And hell, run this freaking Facebook groups. So, and then other Michelle says, everything you said intuitively makes sense, and you're affirming your gut instinct. Girl, all about breaking it down. What do you need to accomplish this obstacle on other pieces and parts of the trail? Another thing is riding with other slower people. Track stand when you wait for them. It's one of the easiest ways and times to practice track stands. Or going over different obstacles excessively slow. Down obstacles slow. If you can go down an obstacle or up an obstacle slow, then you should be able to go over it fast. Because going over it slow can eliminate some other different obstacles of falling, potentially. Kind of thinking about what you're doing, like bigger drops. You don't want to drop over a thing that you can't necessarily roll if you're not rolling, you know? So within reason, but you should be able to do things slowly and have good bike control, have good body control, have good balance. And you will feel a lot more in control if you can do it with good bike body balance. Tatiana says, track stand, ? So that's, I think this is what you're asking. That's whenever you are still in stationary on top of your bike and you're not actually moving forward. But you're out of this, you can do it seated or out of the saddle. Both of them work good. I prefer that people practice out of the saddle because it helps you for going downhill and for climbing whenever you are out of the saddle. And that separation between your bike and your body, because sometimes your bike needs to do different things and your body needs to stay on top of it centered. A lot of times it needs to. So as we break down, going back over our overview for your mindset. 1, where is your focus? Is it on positives or negatives? Do you have a good expectation for your outcome? What are your wants and needs? To accomplish an obstacle, what do you want? Do you want to be able to do it? If not, it's okay. What do you need to accomplish to do that obstacle? Do you need to track stand more? Do you need to work on your core strength and your butt strength and your overall strength? Do you need to work on your endurance? Do you need to think about your goals differently? And so those are how you break down certain aspects into changing your mindset and how to change things to think more positively about it versus more negatively about it. And it's making it more of a logical decision instead of an emotional decision. And anytime when you have a negative focus, listen to it. See if it's logical. Do you need to do that obstacle yet? Maybe yes, maybe no. Think about those different aspects. How is this helpful for anybody? Is it helpful to think about this I'm so analytical when it comes to shit. Let's be honest. I'm an engineer turned PT. And so I'm so much more analytical. And so I'd love to know if this was helpful, or you're like, Liz, I need more real world examples. Tell me a little bit more of like climbing. Tell me a little bit more about going downhill. Was this helpful? Michelle says her goal is just riding more, get her pajay muscles more tough, breathing in control, work on shorty, techie uphills, and more for endurance. Love it. Perfect. Do you think that bunny hops practice helps with jumping? I think it does. It's a little bit different mechanics, but I think that it does help you to understand how to initiate some of the other mechanics of it. Working on bunny hops, I don't think it ever doesn't help you understand how to move the bike and how to change how it's moving underneath of you. And so it's a good skill to practice for sure. Michelle says it's super helpful. I love it. Perfect. All right, ladies, have a fantastic night. All right, ladies, bye.